Okay, using the quadratic formula is relatively simple. The quadratic formula is this formula that has been developed that will allow you to plug in values for a, b, and c into this formula and get the values of x that will make the quadratic equation equal to 0 in standard form. So the first thing you have to remember is when you are working with a quadratic equation, to find the values of a, b, and c, you must set it equal to 0 and then locate the values of a, b, and c, a being before the x squared variable, b being before the x to the first power, and c being the constant. So we're going to try using this equation right here. 5n squared plus 3n minus 2. And since we already have this equation in standard form, we can locate the values of a, b, and c very easily. A is the 5, b is that positive 3, and c is the negative 2. And that allows us to do the next step, which is to substitute those values of a, b, and c into the quadratic equation. So wherever I see a b, I'll put positive 3. Wherever I see a, I'll put positive 5. And wherever I see a c, I'll put negative 2. Let's go ahead and fill in the quadratic formula with its values. X is equal to negative b, well, b is positive 3, so it's negative 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is negative 2. And that entire thing is divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 5. All we have to do is simplify this into its two values. Notice there's a plus and a minus here. That signifies that you're going to have negative 3 plus this square root, which is referred to as the discriminant, negative 3 minus that square root, and then when you do that, each one of those are going to be divided by 2 times 5, which is 10. So you're going to wind up having basically two equations, negative 3 plus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 2 divided by 2 times 5, or you're going to have negative 3 minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 2 divided by 2 times 5. When we simplify each one of these, we're going to simplify what's under the radical first, because that's considered a grouping symbol. So I've got negative 3 plus that value. Well, 3 squared is 9. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Negative 20 plus negative 20 times negative 2 is positive 40. So 9 plus 40 is 49, and the square root of 49 is 7. That simplifies relatively well. And then we're going to divide that by 2 times 5, which is 10. The other side, you're going to have negative 3 minus, and that was still the same value, which is minus 7. So you're going to divide that by 10. Well, when I do that, I get negative 3 plus 7. That's 4 over 10, which is equal to 2/5. And the other side, negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 10 is negative 1. So we have two answers, 2/5 and negative 1. Those are the two values that will make this standard form equation equal to 0. and we expect to get our answers, we put them in set notation, which is 2/5 comma -1. So let's review that quickly. Make sure it's in standard form and identify your variables. Substitute the information into the quadratic formula, realizing that you have two equations. Solve each one of those equations, simplify it, and then report your answers in set notation.